2022, when Star Trek fans got it. Today, number 288 episode of Trekland Tuesdays Live. Gave it away. With me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemecek, coming right at you from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 for some sanity, clarity in the big picture of everything Star Trek every Tuesday. Well, except next Tuesday. We're going to take a week off for the holidays, but so glad everybody is with us today. Hope everybody is doing well. Whatever you're celebrating right now, hope you're having a joyous holiday time. And if you're not, hoping you're having the best late December ever. Here we are. It dawned on me that taking a week off next week, yes, makes this the last Trekland Tuesdays Live of 2022. And, while I try not to date these so much, they're going to be dated. I mean, my God, go back and look at 2017 in all ways. But it's a time you can't help but look back. And we look to January, we'll be all full of the year ahead and maybe some recapping too. But if you're watching us later on YouTube, it'd be great someday if you could be with us live. Like right now being the end of 2022, still almost Christmas. And by the way, gang, if you are looking for some last minute Trek gifts, I've got a consolidated page. See that double team deep dive? Yep. If you go to LarryNemecek.com right now, my homepage, there's one big link that will take you to, TeePublic's big sale ended, but it's still there. Cameo, I'll do a Dr. McCoy for you. Whatever you want me to read for whoever on your gift list, even if it's for you, I'll do it. I'll do a Will Rogers. I'll just do me. If you want me to say hello, greetings to anybody, and birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, it's for good all year long. This is a big time of year, though. Cameo's new. But also, we have this double deal package of a seat on the cruise special Trek before or after the big cruise. You don't have to be on the cruise. That's up there. But also, I got it out of mothballs. A 12 months for the price of 10 in Portal and a 6 months for the price of 5. It's all there. It's some options, big to little, and Cameo, if you want to go small. Maybe it helps you out with your gift list, whatever scale your budget is. Maybe it's for you too, because you deserve it. We're all here. We've survived 2022. Things are, I don't know, what do you think? Things are a little better. What I'm getting at today when Star Trek fans got it is, I think people got, even the best hearted of fans are starting to get what our brave new world of Star Trek looks like. And that doesn't just mean either you love Discovery or you don't. We're way beyond that. We're also way beyond by God, Star Trek was meant to be free. And I'm not subscribing to any stream channel. Now, personal situations aside, tech-wise, budget-wise, I think the world has caught up to Star Trek. And we see what streaming's like. And people are making budget decisions. People are making choices. I feel like we're going full circle back around to the height of cable madness. I hope it doesn't go that far, but it feels like it already is. So we have come so far since 2017, since I started this little weekly chat visit. The culture landscape, the streaming landscape, media, and most of all, Trek has come back. And again, we're not in this, week to week comparison circus. We're not into the crisis of the week. We're not even into this series versus that series. We have transcended the 90s, where everything was TNG versus DS9 or TNG versus TOS to begin with. And then DS9 versus Voyager. And now we're left with only Enterprise, so it feels like a weakling to start with. What? No. The movie. We've got all kinds. We've got a whole new landscape because the world has changed. The cultures, the way we absorb media has changed. And those are topics we talk about here every week. But sometimes, we can lose the forest for the trees. So I was thinking, gosh, look at what's happened. Has it finally turned? When I started this weekly chat, this visit, within a year, we were so worried about the toxic tubers, taking advantage of how new people were, not only to streaming and online social media, but the whole killer math, the killer analytics, the killer magnets of math, I think, that attracted us to the the algorithms that kind of force you down a rabbit hole. We're waking up to it, thankfully, before we lost our culture, lost our politics. And people are much savvier now about the ways to go. And what we're watching with in real time now with Twitter and people struggle, Mastodon. I'm trying a new one called Post, also that's in beta. People are struggling with how to move forward without being taken advantage of, without being bought and sold. People are starting to get what the information age is really about, or it's the demographics age, and that's the commodity. It's not a thing. It's your data is what's most valuable in the world to be bought and sold. And that the way that trickles down to Trek. And I swear we started Trek fandom with this adversarial relationship with the makers. You go back to the 70s and it was like, oh, NBC canceled Star Trek, and oh, Paramount doesn't know what it's doing, and whatever. Then you're into Paramount. Paramount killed off Spock, and Paramount screwed up the motion picture, and we're off and running. But the times when there's been the most Trek and it's been in sync, and I mentioned this before, there's actually been a time when the capitalism and the fan desire have actually been in sync. If you make more and you make it good, then we will buy more. We'll be happy and you'll be happy. And the times when that's been in sync has been the greatest time. The height of the Berman era was that way. Sometimes, it's not like it's not like the stockholders don't want as much profit as they could get as long as we're in this system. Before we've transcended post-scarcity and we've joined Captain Picard in his noble speeches, that we're only bettering ourselves for ourselves and the rest of humanity. We're not dabbling in material possessions and goods. That's not our driving focus. A lot of times, it's just pure unawares. And that's where I think we've been the last 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years. People are still just human. And it's not always about the greed factor. It's not always about ego. Sometimes it's just unawareness. And if we look at what's happened to the Star Trek franchise, can we say that now? Are we still saying the Kurtzman era? Are we still saying modern Trek? I hate saying new Trek because that takes me right back to 1987 when they were calling it new Trek to make fun of Next Generation. And after the New Coke debacle. So, okay, fine. But it's been a year where I think we finally transcended that. I've been talking about the buffet of Trek possibilities since maybe the announcement of Picard, and that eventually the need for different flavors in the buffet was going to give you maybe what you wanted without you even realizing it, just for the driving need of got to be exactly the same but a little different. But that's hard to fathom when you're pioneering something. That's hard to get across. I really, looking back, and then of course we had a pandemic thrown in there in the middle of it that affected the viewers, it affected the producers, it affected the world at large and our attitudes and our outlook on the world. And I think 2022 has been finally, for the first time, we finally reached a plateau where the producers and audience can take a breather. We can put our plans into motion. We can take stock of what's going on and look what's happened. I think 2022 was the year when fandom realized just how in love, how Lower Decks had sneaked up on it despite everyone's best intentions to be wary of animated and comedy and Star Trek, and showed just what was possible. I think 2022 was the year when people realized they were in love with Strange New Worlds, and oh my God, they can do live action right. If you weren't happy with Discovery and or Picard, or Discard as we could combine them, no. They should not be combined. They are totally different animals. 2022 has been the year where I think people have learned not to give up on something if they didn't enjoy it as much at first. Discovery has come so far, and I dare say this 5th season, from everything I hear, is actually going to be a slightly different color. I hope it's the best vehicle. I hope it's the best beaker to let the characters be the characters, but also the storytelling frame be as Trekish as it can be, because they sure made huge inroads. The things that people had been dissatisfied with about Discovery went a long way down that path last year with that incredible first contact. No, Mother Horta. It's not a weapon. It's not a danger, a threat. It's somebody that really should be our friend. I mean, it was just the Horta done a million times bigger and longer, felt like. And Picard, people seeing excited for the reunion and more of a third season and realizing that the inherent show is not just about actors, but it's about who's in charge, who's making it, whose vision is happening. And again, what's the political pendulum doing at the moment? Someone of good conscience, someone of good means could want to do something, and sometimes they just have to wait their chance. And sometimes it's just the mix of people involved, sometimes it's just your awareness. Because look, it's not as easy figuring out what Picard will be and watching it evolve over 3 seasons. It's not like taking a poll of Fandom is going to give you any answers. Ha! Let's give up on that. However, a lot of fandom can sit back and say, well, this is what I like. And I think the excitement for Picard season 3 has been a revelation as part of this big picture of people getting it, what the big picture, what the buffet is going to look like. And yeah, Strange New Worlds, so much expectation. How high was the bar of what people were waiting on for Strange New Worlds? How easy would it have been for that to fall in short? And sure, there were little misfires along the way, but there was just this palpable relief throughout the kingdom of Illyria and otherwise of the potential for Strange New Worlds and the power in not just standalone storytelling, but the balance. And I think that's just something that we've, as human beings, fans and creators, have had to see. If that's been the impetus for this new platform of 10 episodes a season, and you're going to get 5 series, but they're all going to be a chunk in the year, aside from Poor Prodigy, which will have to be sub-chunked, hopefully for no more. But just to experience what this is like, and maybe, yes, most of all, I think the world here is doing a slow burn here at the end of the year about, oh my God, Prodigy, coming out of nowhere. Never underestimate a kids show again, because you've got to look and see who's working on it, what's their credentials, what's their intentions. And yeah, it's doing really well to have fanboys and fangirls heavily involved in some of these series. Doesn't have to be the hiring, the hiring bar. But wow, look what these folks are doing these days with some of the shows. I think fandom has learned, whether you were even hearing the message at first that myself and some folks have been putting out for a few years, increasingly, or if you were paying attention when you did experience it, or even more so, the people who are starting to come around. And that includes, little kids, the Cadet Alices of the world, who are being turned on now to Prodigy and will soon grow into Lower Decks and everything else too, if not already, depending on what their entry point is. But some of these long-range plans for the health, for the value of Star Trek, and the enjoyment that we all get out of it, but we know in our hearts why Star Trek is different than everything else. Not better, but different. And if what you're looking for in your entertainment, if you're looking to be entertained, or you're looking for that thing to be, a part of your wedding and a part of your funeral, a part of your daily life, that classic, and when I say classic, I mean Star Trek prior to 2017, had become to so many people. The role that Star Trek played in their lives. And sure, Star Wars was out there too, and Doctor Who, and even the comic empires. But I'm familiar with Star Trek, and I know that had strayed. When you don't have fresh Trek, you're constantly revisiting your old friends, but it's nice to freshen the pool. Sometimes the debate becomes on the best way to do that, and sometimes when you've let the well-oiled machine sit idle for so long, it's hard to start that up. But once it gets whirring, it gets there. And I know a lot of people still are not happy, even with Strange New Worlds. But I think the way we eventually assimilated everything, how are we going to do this? In Next Gen days, there was all the aversion to using original series material, even. If you heard Ira at our open house, and where were you? He's talked about this before, but we revisited the classic story of the huge fight to even mention Spock's name in 3rd season in Sarek. And of course, everybody said, well, my gosh, by 5th season, they had him on the show. I know, but a year is an eternity in the life of an infant. We're talking about an infant series, but also an infant franchise before we even dared call it that. So sometimes it just takes a while. There's always the visionaries out there predicting how it's going to be if we would just catch up and go there, whether they have the numbers behind them, whether they have the dollars behind them. Sometimes we have the visionaries out there who wind up being totally wrong through no fault of their own. They just didn't have the whole picture, or maybe part of the formula didn't, went flat and skewed their projection. In any case, not to make this too ivory tower today, but I'm really feeling like 2022 was the year that things came together. Now, 2022 was also the year when, and I'm mindful of this because we just had him on as a guest, Ben Robinson from Eagle Moss. 2022 was the year one of the most beloved licensees imploded. I keep having PTSD back to 2005 when the fan club imploded with Decipher. Actually, Decipher imploded and took the fan club and Communicator magazine with it. There's tough times. There are people who are working. I think of some of the game licensees over the years that blew up and things came out of left field, and sometimes not always their fault even. It's a year when seemingly something is popular and is well loved and beloved and renewed by all the energy from the new series. Oh my God. With so much to look forward to on the horizon, imploded. So unfair. And the fact that Ben is working so hard to bring that back, hopefully, as he has been saying on social media, as he told us on a new Trek Files to come soon, hopefully sooner than later, we'll be announcing how strings of the old Eagle Moss Empire are going to survive and carry on, hopefully. But that's a year when, when that happened. It's a year when, wow, I was really feeling it. So it's a year when my homeboys and girls back home inducted me into the Oklahoma Speculative Fiction Hall of Fame, which was kind of an amazing honor. Every 2 years, they invite someone to join this. You're Oklahoma born or you're Oklahoma rooted, and you contributed something to the speculative fiction, made it very broad there. It can be writing, literature in all the fields, the Hollywood side, the TV side, the adjacent side, whatever, which is always an honor when you're home folks. That goes two ways. One is you're a stranger in your own land, unrecognized in your own land, and you have to go afield. And then two is when the folks back home, as Will Rogers said, remember you. And that's the greatest tribute of all. So that was a huge part. And, 2022, we're all climbing out of the stupid pandemic hole anyway in different speeds. And we're still dealing with it in a little bit. We're not under a 24/7 curfew pandemic. We're going to be dealing with the leftovers for a long time. And we're going to be seeing financial and probably even, psychological with the kids, the lost schools, well, the missed income from our parents. But I'm just thinking of they're going to be studying the kids the last 2 years at different ages where they were in the pandemic. That's going to be a topic for ages. Maybe it will even inspire a future Star Trek story. Every year is unique. Every year there's something, but we've been through so much. When you look at the big picture of the world at large and our Star Trek lens, and you marry those two, the rise of Zooming, the rise of virtual communication. Now, again, some of us were Portal 47ing in 2015 and 2016, but the rest of the world is on board. I have guests. No guest has to be tutored in how to Zoom now. No matter how old they are or their lack of grandsons and granddaughters, everybody can Zoom now, which is awesome. It's opened up, as much as the idea, it's opened up the guest potential so much. And we're able to do this even without a pandemic. We're able to do this around the world. And I see more and more cases, not just with Fandom, but schools and businesses and churches, where the virtual component is going to linger. It won't just go back to live again. Why should it? We have the technology. We can do that. As we find the silver lining in some of the survival techniques of the pandemic. So it's hopefully it's upset the worst of our economic system to really open people's eyes to priorities and the way people are treated, and getting to some of these Star Trek themes that we're talking about. But I don't know. It feels like in 5 years, that worry about the toxic tubers, I don't know. Has the flood of this, again, I go back to this tired metaphor, the buffet of Star Trek, and everybody happy if they just find at least one thing. I was in a bit of a Twitter discussion the other day, or a thread, where people were talking about positive fandom versus negative fandom. And I said, it's just, is it just that there are now so many choices that maybe as long as you have your favorite, and you only have it for 10 weeks a year, true. But if you have your favorite and it lives all year long, and the actors behind that series and the creators behind that series are out and talking, and social media makes it more than just a once a year visit to Trek Vegas, does that ease it along? Or are we just remembering what it used to be like when we had DS9 and Voyager on the air and TNG was lingering and it was fresh in people's minds and the original series was still there and people had their favorite, and maybe they didn't pay attention to anything else, but it felt like most people were a Trek fan with a favorite. And I don't know what happened to that. When did it become this life and death choosing over favorites? I think when it's just one or it's two, I think we had five. We have five. We have live action. We have animated. We have more on the way, supposedly. We've had creators reach out and come up with some awesome, awesome ideas. We're all waiting on the crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. I mean, what's that going to be? Some of the really imaginative bits that are coming up. How is the Next Generation cast reunion of AKA Picard season 3? What's that going to end? Will there be a spinoff out of that? Who's going to be involved in who will be guest stars along the way? My gosh, look at what Prodigy is doing to bring guest stars, much less depth of storytelling, taking the kid's tale and overlapping it with what's happening in the 20. Wait, what? This is going to lead into Picard? What? We're going to get canon facts out of Prodigy? They're going to, yes. I think it's becoming aware. I think we're all becoming aware of what that looked like. And if some of us maybe had an intellectual image, a picture, we could conceive what it would feel like. There's nothing like living it in real time. And so for everybody who didn't get where we were coming, well, now it's a moot point. We're living it. You can make choices creatively about where you want to go, what you prefer to see. Or maybe I've been waiting 40 years for this Romulan War, Founding of the Federation series. I've been waiting for this, but still, here's my opinion about everything else. And it's okay. You can like this more than that. I don't know. Have all the worries about gatekeeping and all of that kind of thing, has it felt like it's subsiding? Is it a combination of more Trek, being savvier with social media, maybe the pandemic teaching us the value of our community, and as things do open up, really relishing the chances that we have to get back together face to face again? Has it even put a whole new glow on true fandom community, whether it's viral, we're great for that lifeline, or getting back live again? I don't know. And we've got, as a third level, we've got the shakeout at the CBS Paramount remarriage, the remerger, and still the shakeout from that. What's happening with the live action movie? We don't live and die by it, but it's still going to. Do we have to have just one concept? Can there be two? What about the animated side? That's been avidly talked about. Will there be a Prodigy movie? And not that it'll be the end of the series, but just feed back even more viewers, even more eyeballs and families into Prodigy, and then the greater Trek world as a whole. I mean, it really is a brave new world out there. And I just feel like some of the negatives, whether it was the weirdness of what was happening online as a lifeline to how it cleaned up just in time, how the sane folk, what we'll call the great normal majority, took over the online airwaves when we needed to during the pandemic to survive our sanity, much less new creative output, much less new fandom output. This whole whirlwind, this whole synergistic pool of thoughts and trends. And I just can't help but think that 2022 is actually feels like we're pulling ourselves out of the muck a little bit. Now, knock for Micah. I don't want to doom anything here, but I don't know. I'm curious. How are you feeling here as we end up good old 2022? I think everybody who was expecting from the depths of the pandemic. Remember how we all thought 2021 was just going to be, oh my God. Our total flipped back from 2020. 2020 will always go down as one of those years. About like 1968, I think. 2021 said, oh, hold on, not so fast. And even 2022, obviously, started off a little mucky, a little murky. But I really feel like by the end of it here, in so many ways, we're not just getting back to normal, but we're redefining what a new normal is in all kinds of levels, all kinds of layers. And I'm basically, kind of, dare I say it, optimistic place here. How about you? How about you? Hey, there's lots of economic issues to deal with still. We've got lots of, pandemic lingering bits. We've got some numbers up. Flu is more prevalent this year because it was so stifled when we all masked that now, without being masked 24/7, flu is having an easier time of it. It's some of these other childhood diseases. We have to just be smart and vigilant. But I really feel like 2022 was kind of a eye-opening, better year, and I think we were all due for that. And I think on our screens, we see the way of the future. We see the way of the present. And people are actually excited and looking forward to Picard season 3. We're looking forward to Lower Decks. We get Prodigy now. Much less we're looking forward to Strange New Worlds. Oh my God. And why isn't the whole world watching it? And I think people are even going to be a little excited for season 5 Discovery. I think from what I hear, it's not the save the universe big bad plot. And I think you're getting that tone coming through and some of the comments coming through from the showrunners too. So I'm just saying, if we sit here at the end of 2022 and didn't mean to look back, we still got to survive Christmas or the end of our Hanukkah, whatever we're doing. But I think we're not doing too bad. I think we've come a long way. I think if we're not at the mountaintop, we've come back out of the valley and are able to look back at where we've been and say, okay, the air is a little clearer up here. Vision's a little easier to see. And we might just make it after all. With Star Trek to forever inspire us, old and new. And if that's corny, then welcome to fandom, real fandom for the last 55 years. I am excited for 2023. And I'm so glad that these folks, our Patreons here, are helping us out with it. So thank you. As always, thank you, Diane Hopkins. Diana. What do I say, Diane? That's weird, Diana. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Lawrence Todd, Keith Rombach, Nathaniel Robinson, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Andrew Jasimski, Pranakasha Productions, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Galinda Bruton. And our live wires, Halbeard Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shafsky. I want to thank you guys all. We're going to still be making some evolving steps here. Going to be talking about that in January. But if you want to jump in now, Patreon, if you can, $5-10, very simple. It's a shout out. And we're very soon going to have that all over access to past videos up. Patreon.com/Trekland Live for our live wires, that is. Love to do it. They bill that at the end of the month. So it'd be great if you could jump in with us. When you go to my homepage, you'll also see why I'm excited about next year, because we've got these special pre and post cruise out of LA, special LA away days, Trekland Treks of a set schedule on a Thursday and on a Saturday. Love to have you with us. Even if you're not on the cruise, it doesn't matter. Get yourself to LA. It's a more budget-minded bit than our Trekland Treks we do custom. You can find it right there on the front page of my homepage, LarryNemecek.com, along with, oh my gosh, we've kind of lost sight of this, but the big tour in July, 10 days, LA, San Francisco, filming sites. Trekland Treks is all about filming sites. It's like a real live away team, a real live landing party. And you can be there. If you do a Trekland Treks with me, you can even customize your itinerary. Everything else is some manner of a big trip. You can read all about it, jump to my page, and you can get off on the links there. And of course, being a Tuesday, that means, as I mentioned, as I leaked a little bit before, our guest this week is the great Ben Robinson, formerly of Eagle Moss, hopefully soon back sundry fingers of Eagle Moss living again, but he jumps up today to join us. I'm going to leave. I've told you, Ben, I'm going to leave you on the topic. The Trek Files, our documents are at Facebook, the Trek Files. You can get the audio almost anywhere you get fine podcasts or caught. Podcast.roddenberry.com is where you can get all the other great Roddenberry podcasts like Mission Log and Mission Log Live, like Sci-Fi 5, like Fan Addicts. Have you even checked out what's going on over there? Trek and Trek Sci-Fi Beyond. So that's all there. Of course, I'm Larry Nemecek on Twitter and Mastodon and soon Post. If you're not with us already on Larry Nemecek's Trekland here on YouTube, if you're there, like and subscribe that, Instagram, Facebook, and you can check out portal47.net. You can see what's going on. If you want to jump in with us, though, take advantage of one of those deals. There's a 6-month deal, a 12-month deal, just here through the holidays, or the big double deal, the double deal deep dive. It's a seat on one of the cruise Trek days and a full year of Portal 47. So you get the big splash one day, but you've got a mini con all year long, as we say. If you're leaving us right now, please stay healthy. Do all the things. Stay woke. And when I say woke, I mean leave your eyes open to things you hadn't considered or hadn't learned before. And if something new that you are learning seems too good to be true, check the sources, okay? And if you're leaving us now, please, trek well.